All right, y'all, got some breaking news here for you. So the DNC has now officially released the autopsy of the 2024 race, and it gets into why they think they lost. Now, Ken Martin is the head of the DNC. He had basically been going around in interviews and gaslighting us as to why he's refusing to release the autopsy. Well, now that it is released, allow me to say, I kind of understand why he didn't want to release it. Hey, bro, this thing's a mess, man. This thing is an absolute mess. So let me walk you through it. But right off the jump here, let me just say, 100% this was made with AI. Without a doubt, this was made with AI. It is an absolute joke. It is pathetic how off-base this is. All right, so right off the jump here, let me just say, some of the reasons that they give for why Kamala lost, they say Trump's they-them attack ads on Kamala were seen as highly effective. That's where Trump was saying, she only cares about trans people, whereas I care about you, the regular folks. To me, I think that's kind of stupid and dumb because Kamala wasn't talking about trans people. She never mentioned trans people. So to try to tar her with that, it rings very hollow, in my opinion. We also have the Biden team was criticized for failing to prepare Kamala properly. They say that the Democrats were neglecting rural voters. And they also say that Democrats relied too much on saying we're not Trump. Hey, we're not this guy. We're anything but this guy. Okay, so that's some of the conclusions. We also have Kamala Harris on the ballot helped down-ballot Democrats more than Biden would have if he was on the ballot. In the report, they urge a shift away from identity politics and toward middle-class and kitchen-table issues like the economy and affordability. They also say that Republicans were more effective at messaging and data use, and they learned messages from the past better, including from Obama's campaign. Now, having said all that, you ready for this? So, mentions of Gaza, Palestine, or Israel in the 192-page report. Zero. None. Not at all. It didn't bring it up at all. Okay? That is astonishing, especially given that we now have some data that has come out that shows it was a very big reason why Kamala wasn't able to juice the turnout among the base as much as she needed it. Okay, we already have polling data that indicates this was a huge, huge issue. Okay, more. In addition to flat-out factual inaccuracies that are in the report, and I'm going to give you some of those in just a little bit, but in addition to that, the report also doesn't discuss inflation, perceptions of Biden's age, and immigration. That's all left completely out of the report. Amazing. All right, now how do we know that this was written by AI? Well, let me give you this. Here's some of the errors it contains. To Ken Martin's point about this document not being ready for prime time, which is something he said, it contains lots of errors and curious inclusions, even some that are puzzling to have in a draft. For instance, it lists two separate vote percentages for North Carolina for the Republican gubernatorial candidate Mark Robinson. It says at one point he won 45% of the vote. At another point it says he won 42.7% of the vote. Neither of those are correct. He won 40.1% of the vote. Okay? In one point, it lifts up the Washington governor, Bob Ferguson, as an example of a candidate who did the right things, before later noting that he actually underperformed Kamala Harris. So their example of like the ideal is somebody who performed worse than Kamala did. It also misspells the names of politicians, like the Republican former Kentucky governor, Matt Bevin. They put Brevin instead of Bevin. And the Democratic former New Jersey governor, John Corzine. It's spelled John incorrectly. I mean, this is, again, this is amateur hour. This is amateur hour here. One of the things from the report that was like a big takeaway is that, hey, Democrats need to run a race like the governor of North Carolina, the Democratic governor of North Carolina. And of course, the takeaway people are having is like, bro, he was running against a Republican who was a black Nazi who was obsessed with racist porn. He's like that guy was the worst candidate maybe in U.S. history, and that's the only reason the Democrat won, is because Mark Robinson is a fucking mess. That was the Republican, Mark Robinson. So, I mean, to say that's a dumb conclusion is the understatement of the century. I mean, obviously, every Democrat can't run against somebody who's got that long of a track record of being like an atrocious candidate. Duh. So that's ridiculous. Also, here's a crazy fact. So the guy who Ken Martin hired to do the report, okay, Obviously, this was an AI job. It was horrible. It was terrible. It's not ready for prime time, as Ken Martin said. But he still was working for the DNC up until, like, today. Like, he just got let go. Ken Martin announced to the staff today that the guy who wrote it, Rivera, is no longer working with the DNC. But, like, he was still on a project after doing this bullshit AI report that was completely fake and horrible. I mean, that is so embarrassing, man. It truly is embarrassing. And then also, I'll point this out for you guys. John Favreau said this from PodSave. He said, Step 1, promise to release the autopsy. Step 2, put incompetent friend in charge. Step 3, incompetent friend produces incoherent product. Step 4, announce you're not releasing the autopsy. Step 5, lie about why. Step 6, gaslight people who ask, saying they're the problem. Step 7, face internal revolt. Step 8, release autopsy. Oh, my word. Man, that's crazy, bro. This shit is crazy. So after all that, everybody now on the timeline is basically like, yeah, I kind of get why he didn't release it. I kind of understand now why he didn't release it. But having said that, he could have just told us the truth about this from the beginning, right? He could have just said, look, the guy I hired didn't do a good job. He used AI. It's a bunch of bullshit in there. And so, like, that's why we're not going to release it. But the most important point, and this is what everybody should be stressing, is this. Why haven't you since commissioned a real expert to do a real report? Because there's a real report to be made about what happened, right? There's a real report that, for example, centers Gaza, centers Biden's failure on foreign policy, which led to a depressed base, which led to reduced turnout, right? There's a lot more to say about this. There's a lot to say about inflation. There's a lot to say about Biden's age. There's a lot to say about doing the switch without actually having a process and, having, an open DNC where you could have actually had something at least relatively more democratic than what we had, where they picked Kamala. There's a lot of stuff to talk about here, right? And nobody's talking about those things. So he should have commissioned a new report, and he should have commissioned an actual expert to do their job right. And then we could be having a real discussion now about what actually went down. But instead, it's too perfect. It shows the incompetence of the people who work at the DNC. It also shows that they're liars who, covered their tracks every step of the way instead of just telling the truth here. And it shows this hellscape of AI that's taking over, where work is going to get more and more dreadful, and, we stray further and further from the light of God. So, crazy stuff here, man. But DNC Autopsy has been officially released. It's an absolute mess. Somebody was saying, it appears like, it's 192 pages, it appears like there's factual errors almost on every single page. Factual errors. And it's like, come on, man. It's humiliating. This is absolutely humiliating. So do a real report and do your job properly. But in reality, like, you got to clean house at the DNC. Like, it should just be mass firings. There are a bunch of, like, corporate hacks who run that thing. We need real lefties, especially now that the Democratic Tea Party is in full effect and you got left flank candidates who are winning all over the place. Like, bring in left flank candidates. Faz Shakir, the person who ran Bernie's campaigns, he should absolutely be the head of the DNC. And he ran for it, and he almost won, but he should be the head of the DNC because he would never be this incompetent, and he would do a much better job. Like, this is crazy. Bring in Faz Shakir, clean house, get rid of these people, and make the DNC something that actual Democratic voters can be proud of instead of whatever the fuck this is.
All right, welcome to the show, y'all. Hope y'all are having an awesome day out there. Got a lot of stuff to get to today. In just a second, CNN's data guru is now issuing a dire warning for Democrats that you have to see to believe. I know a lot of us have been thinking, hey, bro, midterms are going to be a total bloodbath. It's going to be overwhelming. However, there are some red flags that we need to discuss. There are some numbers that on the lower end of it, bro, like, it would actually be a horrific night for Democrats. So I'm going to walk you through all that, tell you what the solution is as well. We'll also talk about Trump completely losing his mind and authorizing cancer-causing pesticides. There's this pesticide that's banned in 60 different countries. He authorized it for use in this country. So apparently, we're all going to get fucking cancer with these new decisions that he's making when it comes to the EPA and regulations. So we'll talk about that. We also have experts are terrified as a deadly super El-NINO is currently forming. Everything I've read about that is genuinely putting the fear of God into me. We also have Ted Cruz is cooked to his face by a TMZ reporter in a viral humiliation. You do not want to miss this. I told you guys TMZ would be the real deal, and they would instantly do a better job than a lot of the mainstream media outlets, and they are absolutely proving that correct. And then later on, Jeff Bezos gives an interview with the media, and boy, oh boy, he shouldn't have done that. He needs to go to shut the fuck upsville, because the more these billionaires talk, the more we all hate them. And he was begging to not have his taxes raised and saying blatantly untrue things. And we're going to break all that down and more. So you guys know the deal, man. Everybody do me a big favor and subscribe to the channel. That helps out big time and costs you nothing at all. You can also click that bell icon. That, of course, will send you a notification every time we drop a video on this channel. You can also support the show on Patreon and sign up for Crystal Kyle and Friends on Substack. Remember, y'all, this is real independent media. I've never talked to an advertiser, never done an ad read, never talked to a billionaire or a PAC or a government or anything like that. I'm very proud of that fact. You guys have made that possible by giving $2 a month or $5 a month or $7 a month, whatever it is. It goes a very long way. Even if you just tip $5 on YouTube or whatever, it goes a long way. Like I said, we keep the funding model pure, and thank you all for helping us from the ground up. We really, really appreciate it. And then also, you guys can sub to Corin's World, the YouTube channel, because we do live Kyle and Corin's over there every Monday night. Come hang out with us. It's a lot of fun. All right, let's go ahead and jump right in. So CNN's data guru, this guy Harry Enton, the polling expert, he did a segment that I wanted to share with you because it's actually a little bit terrifying about what's coming in the midterms. Now, to this point, yes, we have all collectively thought, oh, it's going to be like it's over already. Like this thing is going to be colossal. This thing is going to be like prime FDR type margins because the Republican Party is now a fascist, terrorist, imperialist death cult, and everybody's onto that, right? They can't hide that. And look, it's still the case. I don't want to oversell this. It's still the case that we are likely to pick up a lot of seats. However, there are some concerning things that we're seeing that he's going to lay out for us. So let's take a look and then we'll break it down.
We don't normally focus on sort of the variance in polls, but this is a time when it might really matter.
It might really matter. I'm going to put on my professor cap here, Professor Enton, Professor Berman, in the room with you, our dear students. And I think that, you know, sometimes we sort of get lost, right? We focus in on one poll and one narrative, and sometimes there are competing narratives, and I think it's worth just taking a step back because I think some people are like, well, the polls said one thing and another thing happened. Actually, the polls here differ quite a bit. Democrats lead in choice and choice for Congress. Look at this. New York Times poll came out yesterday, it's 10. That matches with Marist, that was 10. But the Washington Post came out within the last month, that was 5. Fox News came out in the last month, that was 5. And then the CNN poll that we were discussing last week, right? That was a 3-point lead. There's quite this bit of variance that is going on right here. And you know what? This is actually a good thing. This is a normal thing. This is what happens when you have margins of error that are going out there. You'd expect an average, but then you have a range of possible results around that average, and we're not necessarily sure which one is right if the election were held today. And of course, there's the extra variance of the fact that the election is not being held until November.
All right, a range of possible results. And in this case, you know...
You want to hit a pen, Johnny?
I'm going to hit a pen. I'm going to hit a pen. There we go.
There you go.
In this case, this result would be wildly different than that result.
Right. Okay. So you see, this is, of course, the choice, the national popular vote for the House. But what does that mean in terms of seats? What's the difference between, let's say, Democrats winning by 10 versus winning by 3? And this is where it gets really interesting. Okay. So even if you take redistricting into account, given a popular vote win of, let's say, 3 points, what would that mean for Democratic House gains? They gain probably somewhere, an estimate is between 0 and 6 seats, which at the upper end of that range would be enough to take back the House. But on the lower end of that range, that would not be. That would be Republicans holding on.
So understand something. It is within the range that Republicans hold on to the House. Let me repeat that. It is within the range that Republicans can hold on to the House. The lower end of the poll is so bad that it is possible Republicans maintain control. Chew on that for a second as we continue here.
But what about that 10-point lead that you see in Marist, the New York Times? Well, that would be a ginormous blowout. And this is just an estimate. It could be higher, a little bit higher, a little bit lower. But we're talking about an estimate of a Democratic gain of between 20 to 30 seats or more. They could be ending up 245 seats or north of there potentially versus being stuck, let's say, 213, 214, 215, 216, maybe barely getting to a majority. So look, when you see this range of potential results, I want you to keep in mind, yes, Democrats are probably favored to take back the House. It's by no means a guarantee, but they could end up blowing the Republicans right out of the water. All of that is within the margin of error at this point, especially given that we're months from the election.
That's the difference between maybe not taking it and taking it by a lot. That's the variance in the polls right now. So, Professor Enton, what does one do? What does one do at this stage of the game when you have these polls showing all these different things?
Well, I'm glad you asked that, Professor Berman. And what we would do is we might average the polls together, and you can see that there's been a clear shift towards the Democrats in the average poll. Choice for Congress margin. You go back to Election Day last year, in November of 2025, Democrats were ahead by 4. They're now ahead by 7 in the average poll at this point. And that, if that average held, that will result very much assuredly a clear Democratic majority. And then the last little thing that I will note here is just, Kalshi prediction market chance that Democrats in the midterms, 208 18 House, and then let's say gaining in the Senate, but not necessarily taking it back. Look at this. 69% chance, a very nice 69% chance. So Democrats are still in the catbird seat here. They're likely to gain the House, likely to gain the Senate, but it's by no means a guarantee.
Put simply, y'all, we need the left flank candidates. It really is that simple. Like every single left flank candidate, you need to vote for them in the primaries. You need to get them through. They need to be the ones to represent us because if that's not the case, then it is absolutely possible that this thing gets blown. The lead could get blown. I have no doubt about it. Guys, we just saw the other night the New York Knicks playing the Cavaliers. The Cavaliers were up 22 points with 7 minutes left. And not only did the Knicks come back to win, they ended up winning by 11 points. It was a historic collapse. I'm not trying to see that happen with the Democrats leading now and then somehow the Republicans come back and win. I don't want to see that happen. So how do we ensure that doesn't happen? You support the left flank Democrats, have them be the nominees because they will absolutely belt to askies, absolutely destroy the Republicans. So understand something. We're in a different place today than we were even just like 2 months ago. Why? Because Republicans are openly cheating. That's what they're doing. They're redistricting. They're gerrymandering. Now, not only are they doing that, they are doing that as blue states are not keeping up. A lot of blue state governors are sitting around with their thumbs up their asses, or like Virginia, they have a direct vote. We try to fix it by counter gerrymandering, and then the court here strikes it down. So if you're following along, Republicans are allowed to gerrymander. They're allowed to cheat. Democrats are not allowed to counter cheat. Well, what do you think that does to our chances in the midterms? Okay. Also, betting market odds for Democrats dropped as soon as it became clear Republicans are going to cheat everywhere and Democrats are not going to be able to catch up. That's not good either. Okay. The other thing that's terrifying me, I don't know how many of you remember this, but in 2022, everybody and their mother was predicting, oh, red wave, red wave, red wave, red wave, red wave. And then what happened? The red wave didn't materialize. It was a red trickle, as people said. And I worry that that's what's going to happen this time, but on our side, that the blue wave could become a blue trickle. But again, the reason for that would be, number one, because they're cheating. And number two, if we have lame-ass Democrats, it is possible that it's going to be closer than we want it to be. So the bottom line is, Democrats, you have to fight. You have to fight. I need every Democrat running to start saying the enemy are the billionaires, the fascists, and the warmongers. I need you to say that. I need you to say it every interview you do. I need you to say it in debates. I need you to say it to your opponent's face. I need you to say it on social media. I need you to say it in a boat. I need you to say it on a goat. The enemies are the billionaires, the fascists, and the warmongers. Because you know what? The Republicans are going to be doing their old tricks. They're going to be out there saying, oh, the immigrants are why everything sucks, or the trans people, or the black people, or this minority group, or Muslims, or that minority group. This is what they'll do. And it's called divide and conquer. It's the oldest trick in the book. And they successfully dupe a lot of people into thinking, oh, yeah, maybe they are the problem. No, they're not the problem. The problem are the billionaires and the fascists and the warmongers. And it's time you fucking say that. Make an enemy of the billionaires. Make an enemy of the Epstein class. Make an enemy of MAGA. Make an enemy of these warmongers that are starting a new war every other week, led by Donald J. Trump. Okay? You need to go out there and talk about Jeffrey Epstein. Call Donald Trump a pedophile. That's right. Call him a pedophile. Call him a rapist. Call him a fat war criminal. Call him a con man. Why do I need to tell these people these things? That's the thing that drives me crazy is like, you should be sounding like me anyway. They shouldn't need me to say this shit. I don't have to tell Graham Plattner this. He goes out there and does a great job and says all this shit. I don't need to tell Abdul El Sayed this. He does a great job. There's a lot of Democrats that need to fucking hear this. That need to bring up Jeffrey Epstein, need to bring up how Trump's a pedophile, need to bring up that he's protecting a child trafficking ring. They need to bring up his corruption. You shouldn't go a single day without talking about Donald Trump's corruption, whether it's the $1.7 billion he stole from U.S. taxpayers in order to pay his insurrectionists and his terrorists and all of his fucking buddies and his family members, whether it's that or it's the insider trading where he made between $220 million and $720 million, or it's the crypto scam that he ran on his own supporters. This man has no morals whatsoever, scamming his own fucking people. Okay, bring that up. Bring up the war. Do not shut the fuck up. And I don't want to hear this bullshit like, sir, you didn't fill out the right paperwork for the war. No, fuck that. You should be against the war in principle, for moral reasons, for ethical reasons. You should be talking about the innocent little girls who were carpet bombed and triple tapped by the axis of Epstein, the U.S. and Israel. Okay? You should be talking about the genocide. You should be saying we're going to cut off all money and weapons to Israel. This is what you should be saying. No more war with Iran. Stop fucking doing a new regime change every other week. You should never shut the fuck up about the cost of living. Why don't Democrats go out there every day and say, hey, you do know Donald Trump kicked 18 million people off Medicaid, right? You are aware of that, right? You are aware that he's doubling and tripling and in some cases quadrupling your health insurance premium, right? You are aware of that. You are aware he's cutting taxes for billionaires and raising taxes for you if you're a regular person, right? You are aware of that, right? You need to say all these things. It is very unfortunate, I'm being nice here by just using that word, that people have to come here to hear these talking points. Because all I'm doing is connecting the dots. All I'm doing is pointing at what actually happened and saying, damn, isn't that shit fucked up? And you know what the reaction is? Everybody goes, holy shit, that is really fucked up. And that's how you win. Okay? So they got to get their act together, man. Look, I understand Democrats have taken the approach of we're going to step aside and let Republicans destroy themselves. They're so evil and bad that they will destroy themselves if we just let them make decisions. And you know what? As I told you from day one, that is true. You actually can win doing that. Okay? Here's the problem, though. You win by much less than if you actually go out there and fight. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to say it again. This thing is not over. This thing is not done. Spread this message far and wide. Send this to your favorite Democratic candidate. Send this to any Democratic candidate. Share this as much as you can so people know. The rules are very simple. The roadmap is very simple. If you want to win, repeat after me. Call out the billionaires, the fascists, and the warmongers. They're the problem. Talk about Epstein, talk about Trump's corruption, talk about the illegal wars, talk about cost of living, say you want Medicare for all and free college and a living wage and ending the wars and raising taxes on the wealthy and redistributing that, giving every school kid in this country free breakfast and free lunch. This is the sort of stuff we need. Talk about social housing, right? We have a housing crisis. Well, we should do social housing. Talk about all that. That's how you win. That's how you win. Get on top of it.
Hey y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.
One of the under-discussed evil policies of, honestly, any Republican regime is that they want to utterly destroy the administrative state and the regulatory state. In other words, they want the government to have no capacity whatsoever to make your life better. To protect your food, to protect your water, to make sure you're not taking some product that's going to kill you in 3 years, right? Where somebody's just getting rich by selling you snake oil and poisoning you. This is all very basic shit that government is supposed to do, but Republicans in this country are so deranged and so extreme, and they're such free market fundamentalists that they would rather worship the gods of capitalism than actually protect the American people and have reasonable rules and regulations in place to actually look after the public. Right, so this is something we've been dealing with for a long time. But with Trump in particular, oh my goodness, is it so far above and beyond what anybody could have seen coming? Okay, I mean, this guy is genuinely satanic and demonic with some of these policy decisions that he's made. Okay, so first let me show you this. This is from FactPost. Ready? The Trump administration has authorized the continued use of cancer-causing pesticide atrazine. Atrazine is banned in more than 60 countries. 60 countries. Gee, I wonder if we're correct or these 60 countries are correct. Guys, the way it works in this country is it's a YOLO shit. It's a YOLO thing. It's like, yeah, put whatever you want out on the marketplace, and then maybe if/when it starts mass murdering people, then we might have some rules or take it down. The way it works, for example, in many places in Europe is the opposite, where it's like you need to prove that this thing is safe before it comes to market. Pesticide banned in 60 countries. He's like, let her rip. I don't give a fuck. Now, by the way, why do you think it is? Why do you think that is, that he would do this? It's very simple. Because he's open for business. He's the most corrupt man in America. So you have any of these chemical companies, go and give him a campaign contribution, go to Mar-a-Lago and give him a check. Give him any money whatsoever, join one of his clubs, whatever the fuck. Guaranteed he's going to look out for you. Guaranteed he's going to look out for you. Even if it gives himself, his family cancer. That's how fucking stupid this guy is he thinks he's above this. No, if you poison the food supply like this, you're poisoning the food supply. This is not like, oh, you have a special thing that's in a different little corner. No, it's all of our food, right? Like I saw somebody post the other day on Twitter. They were like, I've come to terms with the fact that a lot of us are probably going to die much younger because of Trump and his policies. And when you look at stuff like this, you go, it could easily be the case that just with this decision, you're cutting 5 years, 8 years off the average lifespan in America now. And we've seen what have we seen recently? We've seen the average age go down, whether that's because of COVID or whether that's because of, the fentanyl epidemic and drug overdoses. I don't know, but we've seen that come down. So this is the first generation that now it's not, people have no expectation that like we're going to live longer than our parents, we're going to have better jobs, we're going to climb that economic ladder. They've absolutely destroyed. Capitalism has destroyed that notion. The billionaires, the Epstein class have destroyed that notion. Now everybody feels like, oh, we're all declining. Everything's declining. This country's falling apart and everybody knows it. It feels like there's nothing we could do about it. It almost reminds me of that first scene in The Sopranos where Tony Soprano is like, I feel like I'm getting into something at the end here, like as it's getting worse. It's like, yeah, that's exactly what's happening in this country. All right, so you ready for this? So Trump does this. Here's his head of Health and Human Services, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., in the wee old days of 2024, okay? He says, my EPA will ban atrazine, period. Oh, is it period? Is that what it is? It's period? Is that what that is? Is that what that is? By the way, remember, what did Trump do recently as well? Glyphosate. You remember this? RFK spent a career saying glyphosate causes cancer. He was like a lawyer and won people money when they got poisoned by that shit and they got cancer because of it. Trump comes out and says, actually, what we're going to do is allow glyphosate and increase use of glyphosate. Thanks for playing. That's what we're going to do. And what does RFK Jr. do? Okay, I'm sorry. I guess I'm in favor of the cancer-causing chemical now, so whatever you say, sir. Would you like me to slurp you sloppy, sir? I would love to get on my knees and slurp you sloppy. Can I felch with you too and not just Olivia Nuzzy, sir? That's where we're at. This is where we're at. Unbelievable. So as Pedro Gonzalez says, best part about the Trump-Vance administration refusing to ban carcinogenic atrazine is that RFK Jr. has been a vocal supporter of just that. Everyone who backs Trump will be forced to betray everything they believe. Doesn't matter if it's their political convictions or their faith. By the way, what does this remind me of? Remember that famous picture of RFK Jr. sitting there with Trump and Elon Musk, and I think Mike Johnson was in the picture, maybe Don Jr., and they're eating McDonald's, and you see RFK Jr.'s face as he's eating McDonald's, which is something that he thinks is outright poison that he would never eat. Trump made him eat it. Why? As part of the humiliation ritual. In the same way that they're giving all these like issues that they poll horribly on, they give all of that to JD Vance. They say, here, you go make an ass of yourself trying to like fix these things. Like, this is what they do. He's only out for himself, okay? But let me give you some more. Look at this from Notice. The EPA wants to remove the drinking water limits on 4 forever chemicals, including the notorious North Carolina Cape Fear River contaminant Gen X. They are officially proposing to kill the nationwide standards set under Biden and start over. So Joe Biden actually listens to the science and says, hey, the experts are telling me these things cause a bunch of different health problems. Let's regulate it. Let's do the right thing. And Trump comes along and goes, how about for my billionaire Epstein class buddies so they can make more money, let's throw out all those rules. And these chemicals, bro, they do some nasty ass things, dog. They fuck you up, man. They do. The Trump administration has repealed drinking water limits for 4 different PFAS forever chemicals. Water providers will no longer have to test or filter for pollutants. No tests, no filtering. In the same way, remember when they got rid of the routine food safety inspections? You remember that? Or did you memory hole that because that's also fucking terrifying to you? That now there's no routine food safety inspections. Just absolutely horrific. Gutting basic things that government is supposed to do to keep our food and our water safe. Trump approved lifting restrictions on PFAS forever chemicals, not because of Biden, but a pro-growth move for data centers. PFAS are a common byproduct for AI cooling fluids, semiconductors, and wastewater. Data centers also drive the demand for PFAS production for construction. The forever chemicals are going to end up in the freshwater sources and water tables in Ohio and Kentucky next. So in other words, this is all for the data centers. In the same way that Trump's allowing these things to let her rip, build them everywhere, I don't give a fuck, that's leading to light pollution, that's leading to noise pollution, that's leading to actual pollution. Half of Memphis is fucking poisoned now because of Elon Musk's data center. That's leading to skyrocketing bills for your electricity. That's going up. That's leading to water shortages because it takes a tremendous amount of fresh water in order to, keep these data centers running. So Trump greenlit all that, and now it's also, let's poison whatever water remains, whatever little water remains that we didn't fucking take for the data center. How about we poison that with PFAS? Let's do that. Bro, they are begging to make guillotines great again. The next Democrat that actually wins in a landslide is going to have hats that say "Make guillotines great again." You understand what I'm saying? Like, this is the point that we're getting to, where these billionaires, this Epstein class, is so unhinged and so out of control and so doesn't give a single solitary fuck about anybody but themselves that they are begging for a revolution. They're begging for it. I mean, shit. And what's the promise of these data centers? They openly say, we want it to take everybody's job. So you can't go to the government and get a safety net because they got rid of that. And it's going to take your job and deal with it. So shut up and deal with it. We're just destroying any prospect you have for the future, but sit there and fucking deal with it. Right? And like, what's worst case scenario? Worst case scenario is, these AI data centers exist. So, a bunch of weirdos can make some funky pictures. Hey, give me a realistic picture of fucking Wyatt Earp and Hitler making out. Like, this is the shit people do with AI. And it's like, what's the point of this? What is the point of this? The other thing is AI hallucinates all the time. We just talked about that the other day. Some graduation ceremony used it, and they didn't even read off all the names of the students. So these poor students paid a bunch of money, got their degree, worked hard, didn't even get to fucking have their name called at their fucking graduation because they relied on AI. It's all fucking so stupid. And Trump is willing to poison all of us to continue with the fucking pipe dream of a bunch of Epstein-class billionaires, okay? At the same time, the Trump administration has waived 29 environmental and conservation laws to build roads and barriers across protected habitats in Texas. And then they list all of them here. Administrative Procedure Act, Antiquities Act, Archaeological and Historic Preservation Act, Archaeological Resources Protection Act, Clean Air Act. So understand something, he simply just does whatever the fuck he wants to do. We discussed how the Senate parliamentarian came out and said, yeah, you need 60 votes to fund your stupid fucking ballroom, right? Trump went, I don't care. The courts came out and said, yeah, you can't just build the ballroom, like you need to go through the proper process. He's like, I don't care. He literally takes the media the next day and shows them all the work they're doing. Oh, it goes six layers deep underground, and we're putting drones in that bitch, and we're putting a hospital in there, and like it's basically my doomsday bunker for when I decide to launch the nukes. And they're doing all that shit. They're doing all that shit. Just does what he wants. No consequences whatsoever. People sit around and act like, well, what are we supposed to do? Well, why is he the only one that just does shit, right? He's the only one that just does shit. Everybody else sits around and looks at him and goes, is he allowed to do that? Well, this is what happens. The country fucking falls apart as a result of it. This is what happens. So just absolutely disgusting, disturbing, unhinged shit. Let's remember, guys, the Trump regime has rolled back at least 112 different environmental protections. They deregulated chemicals. They destroyed the Clean Water Act and the Clean Air Act. It's a fucking mess, bro. It's a mess. They have succeeded in the Doge pipe dream of let's just totally handcuff the administrative state and the regulatory state. Let's make it so there is no government there anymore. And guess what happens in a scenario like that? The Epstein class gets to run wild. The billionaires get to run wild. They get to commit all sorts of white-collar crimes, never get audited. Nobody looks into it. But God forbid you, rob a convenience store, steal some fucking yodels from a convenience store, and your life is over. So this is what they do. They get to carpet bomb schools and hospitals and kill little girls in Iran. And they get to, loot the treasury and poison everybody. But God forbid you rob a convenience store because you're hungry. That's the end of your life. So this is what this country is now. This is what this country is now. Poison everybody all the time, and nobody will even bring it up. The media won't really talk about it. You have to go to an asshole YouTuber like me to tell you the truth.
Hey y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.
So I don't know how many of you guys have been following this, but I've seen a whole bunch of stuff about this super El-NINO that is apparently forming and brewing at the moment, which could be an absolute catastrophe. So take a look at this. The 2026 super El-NINO is projected to be the strongest in 150 years. Super El-NINO. Okay. So Matthew Gross says, lurking below the surface in the equatorial Pacific is possibly the most impressive blob of above-average ocean temperatures we've ever recorded since we've had the ability to measure this stuff. When that enormous concentration of bathwater reaches the surface over the coming weeks and months, it's going to release devastating consequences around the globe throughout the second half of the year. Get ready for severe droughts in parts of South America, Africa, and Australia, devastating monsoons in southern China, and a roaring southern jet all winter long in North America. When you combine this with the fertilizer crisis bubbling as a byproduct of current global events, there's going to be a crop failure on a level most of us have never seen during the closing months of 2026. Hard to see how we avoid widespread deadly famines across multiple stretches of the planet at this point. You know, I brought this up on the show the other day that nobody really thinks about or talks about potential new Dust Bowl-like conditions. We know climate change is a disaster. We know it's spiraled out of control, but people don't really put two and two together and think about what that means going forward, right? And what that means is everything we rely on, everything we think is normal, is up in the air now. It's questionable. We might be fucked. There might not be enough food for the billions of people who are on this planet. Okay, this is not a little thing. This is a huge, huge deal. And we've disrespected Mother Nature for so long and have been so arrogant. And at some point, that bill's gonna come due, y'all. Brian Maxwell says, I don't understand why only a few people like Matthew Gross understand just how bad this whole combination of super El-Nino on top of out-of-control climate change plus fertilizer shortages and energy crisis all hitting at the same time is going to actually be. It kind of reminds me of the flooding situation that forecasters were warning about in the Carolinas ahead of Helene. Everyone was just kind of like, okay, we get it, there's going to be a lot of rain, but nobody could comprehend just how terrible the situation was going to actually get until 3 to 4 days after all the missing people couldn't be found alive. If you have any friends in places around the world where famine could hit later this year, please make them aware of how bad it's going to get and make sure they have a plan to stay alive. That is a horrifying thought. That is a terrifying thought. All right, more. Scientists are warning that a potential super El Nino could strike later this year, and some fear it may become the most dangerous one seen since the 1800s. NOAA says there's a 65% chance El Nino conditions turn strong or very strong between October 2026 and February 2027. Some researchers believe it could rival a catastrophic 1877 El Nino, an event linked to drought, crop collapse, famine, and more than 50 million deaths worldwide. At this time, the planet is already hotter than before. El Nino begins when abnormally warm waters spread across the tropical Pacific Ocean, but the consequences ripple across the globe. Extreme heat waves, historic flooding, severe droughts, crop failures, wildfires, fisheries collapse, stronger climate disasters worldwide. The last major El Nino, 2023 to 2024, pushed global temperatures to record highs. Scientists warn the next one could hit an already overheated climate system, making the impacts even more extreme. What's different now is that our atmosphere and oceans are much warmer than the 1870s. Climate scientist Deepti Singh told the Washington Post, past super El Nino events caused tens of billions in economic damage and triggered worldwide humanitarian crises. Now, experts fear rising food prices, water shortages, instability, and simultaneous extreme weather across multiple continents. Isn't it awesome that as all of this is happening, Elon Musk and Donald Trump just decided to totally, shoot in the face any ability we had to address international crises? Isn't it great that USAID is cooked now in barbecue chicken and people are dying because they can't get malaria medication and HIV medication? Isn't it great that we've wrapped up the notion that we give food to countries that desperately need food, that we use soft power in any way, shape, or form? Isn't it awesome that as that's happening, we're now going to compound that with a potential super El Nino crisis where this stuff gets worse? Drought is out of control, famine's out of control, flooding's out of control. You have all these compounding problems as we, I would say look inward, but we're not actually looking inward. We're busy bombing other countries. That's what we're doing. We're not, handing out medicine and food. We're just carpet bombing schools and hospitals. That's what we're doing. We're not fixing our problems here at home. Not at all. We're bombing people, and the pedophile, rapist president is looting the treasury, and that's what this current government is doing. And by the way, what are the chances literally anybody in the Trump regime has said a single fucking word about the super El Nino, has been briefed about it, has thought about it, has listened to an expert give options as to what to do if this unfolds? What are the chances? We all know it is literally zero. It is a terrifying thought to me that nobody's steering the fucking ship. Nobody's steering the ship. Me or any one of you are way more equipped to be president of the United States and deal with stuff like this than the current guy who's in there. That's a horrifying thought, bro. I'm an asshole with a loudmouth on YouTube, and I'm undoubtedly way more prepared to do his job than he is. And you know what would happen if there were to be a super El Nino, he would become an El Nino denier. In the same way he's a climate science denier, he would be like, El Nino, nobody's ever heard of that before. What's an El Nino? So what, it rains? Well, it rains all the time. So what? There's some drought. Well, there's droughts all the time. It's got nothing to do with me. It's got nothing to do with us. That doesn't affect us in any way, shape, or form. This man is the devil, bro. This man is the devil, and you all need to understand that. Now, let's add insult to injury here. So Jeffrey Lean says, this is truly scary. The breakup of Antarctica's Thwaites Glacier would raise levels by over 3 meters and inundate coastal cities worldwide. And yet we continue to slow efforts to combat global warming. What is he referring to? New Scientist has this article. The Doomsday Glacier's giant ice shelf is about to break away. So guys, what we're looking at is a situation where I always see stories like this. Worse than the worst case scenario, worse than the worst case scenario, worse than the worst case scenario. Climate change is not something that's happening in the future. It's fucking here. And the consequences of it are now. Okay? We saw by, I believe, the years 2100, the Middle East will be uninhabitable. Like humans can't live there because it's always above the wet bulb temperature, which is the temperature which you can actually cool yourself off if you're out in the heat. That's what we're looking at. Middle East uninhabitable, massive refugee crisis, wars over water, our delicate food systems falling apart. This is going to require the brightest minds to fix this and a government that actually gives a shit and is willing to listen to expertise and is willing to actually do things that would solve problems. Instead, now, we're led by such an idiot. He sees climate change spiraling out of control. Well, he doesn't because he doesn't care and he doesn't know. But his answer is, let's do no more solar power and no more wind power. At a time when we also have an oil crisis, an energy crisis. I mean, how backwards is that? At the exact time when you should be doubling down on oil and wind, on solar and wind and getting away from oil, he does the opposite. It's almost like he's a Manchurian candidate. He's either the dumbest man to ever be in the White House or he's an actual Manchurian candidate. But buckle up, y'all. The good news is, to the extent this is good news, I don't even know about that, but it's a 65% chance a super El Nino hits. Let's hope it's not that. If you ever played poker and you've had a 65% chance of winning, you know how that goes, right? Let's hope the minority position ends up winning here because this sounds like an absolute nightmare.
Hey y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.
You know, one of the things that's been driving me absolutely crazy, that just, it just feels like, it's just so cruel. It's just so cruel when you sit on this fact and you dwell on it and you think about it, you let it marinate and swirl around your head a little bit. But Zohran Mamdani wasn't born in this country, so he's not going to be able to ever run for president. When I tell you that breaks my fucking heart, I mean, it breaks my fucking heart because he's one of those people where you look at him and you go, yeah, there's no doubt. Like, not only would he win, it would be a fucking landslide. It would be a cakewalk. I have full faith and confidence in his, his strategic ability, in his chops when it comes to policy substance. Like, he's got it. He's got whatever that is, whatever the thing is, whatever the X factor is, he is oozing with that X factor. And it's not just me saying this. I'm sure a lot of you guys feel the same way. You take one look at him and you go, oh, he's the one. He's the one. If he could run for president, and he did run for president, it'd be 400 fucking electoral college votes. The Republicans would be crying in the corner, and he would, day one, he'd already start moving us towards a utopia. Now, why can I say that with such certitude? Well, because we've seen what he's done, right? First of all, they always hit him with fake scandals, right? Like, one of the scandals they tried to gin up against him is he ate at an expensive restaurant. Like, really? That's how low you have to go? Like, that's how desperate you are that he ate at an expensive restaurant? Like, what is that? Do you think that's going to make people... I could never vote for him. They also pointed out that his dad correctly said that Hitler admired the U.S. because that's a fact. They made it seem like, hey, can you believe his dad said that thing that's actually true? Yes, I can, and frankly, I don't care. Another one they did is he took a picture with an imam who may have been a bad guy. Like who the fuck cares? Who cares? They try to say he's a Nepo baby. What? Like, yeah, that prominent family that he comes from. Like, what the fuck are you talking about, bro? Who are we kidding? And then when you get to the policy chops, as I've told you guys, he cracked down on shitty landlords virtually immediately as soon as he got power. He ordered a deep cleaning of the subway, which is pretty badass because everybody knows how dirty those subways are. He handled the winter storm that they got so well that even Republicans were giving him credit. As I always tell you guys, he played the game behind the scenes so well. Like, I was skeptical. Many people were skeptical at certain points. We were like, I don't know about this, but it turned out he was right. He was able to get Hochul on board for universal child care. That's amazing. He knew how to work her behind the scenes and shake the right hands and make the right decisions. He knows how to play politics. Like, he's an ideological leftist, but he's also practical in the sense that he'll actually get the shit done that we want him to get done. He's freezing the rent because he was able to pack the board to do that, taxing the rich. Like, this guy, I mean, it's just win after win after win. It's astonishing. You look at it, you're like, oh my God, it's the Trump quote of like, I'm going to win so much, it'll make your head spin. You'll say, please, sir, no more winning. I'm looking at this going, Zohran, please, sir, no more winning. My head is spinning. Can you please stop? I'm getting dizzy over here. So I tell you all of that to show you this. Why did I have to wait? I'm 38 fucking years old. Why did it take this long for some Democrat with some power to actually say some dope-based ass shit against Ronald Reagan? My whole life, Democrats either said nothing about Reagan or they sucked Reagan off, right? Think of Bill Clinton. His whole thing was like, I agree with Reagan. The era of big government is over. Like, I'm on the side of small government. He's the king neoliberal. Now, we have a resurgence of the New Deal Democrat, of the democratic socialist, of the person who's like, no, government actually can be used for good, and I'm going to make government be used for good to help you. I know that crazy idea, that you pay taxes and you just actually get good shit for those taxes. I know, wild. So Zohran is giving a speech here. Love this. I love this so much. And, bro, shots fired at Ronald Reagan. And that very famous quote that Reagan has, he fucking rips it apart casually, smoothly, seemingly without even trying. Watch this. This is glorious.
And standing here this morning, I cannot help but think of the words of our 40th president, Ronald Reagan. He famously said, the 9 most terrifying words in the English language are, I'm from the government and I'm here to help. It's a good quote, but I disagree. I think 9 more terrifying words are actually, I worked all day and can't feed my family. We are going to use the power of government to lower prices and make it easier for New Yorkers to put food on the table.
God damn, son. See this? This is the mic, right? Ready? That's a mic drop moment, dog. What the fuck? Why did it take this long? Like I said, I'm 38 years old, bro. Why did it take this long for a Democrat to actually respond to and drop a rebuttal for that fucking Ronald Reagan quote, which unfortunately dominated the mindset and the philosophy of both political parties my entire life? The scariest words in the English language are, I'm from the government and I'm here to help. And he flipped that shit right back on him and said, no, actually, the scariest words in the English language are, I worked all day and can't feed my family. That's scarier. Yes, he's finally making the point that every person left of center believes in, whether you're a liberal or a leftist or left of that, right? The thing that we all agree on, very simply, is if you have a government, which every civilized functioning society does, the question is, what do you want that government to do? Do we want to pay taxes to a government that covers for child sex trafficking rings, that, takes up for pedophiles, that enriches the military-industrial complex, that starts multiple illegal wars, that's a grab bag of corruption, that serves the Epstein class and the billionaires only? Do we want to pay taxes to the government and then say, like, hey, take my money and just, like, leave me alone? No! That's the Republican idea. You pay some taxes, but, then the government's just, like, not going to do much for you when you pay. No, we want something for that money. We are demanding something. If we pay taxes to you, give us health care. Give us education. Give us paid vacation time by law. Give us free school breakfast and free school lunch, right? Give us all of these good things that make up the basics of a civilized society, of a functioning society, right? Like, this should be obvious. If you're not born into wealth and privilege, like, a lot of these things, you need to have a society in place that can actually fund the basics, the necessities, the things that give you even a shot, a chance to live the American dream and make a decent amount of money and raise a family. And right now we've had this totally backwards ideology for the longest time of, like, everything's a meritocracy, but you're on your own, basically. And the fact of the matter is, we never had a meritocracy. If anything, we live in an anti-meritocracy. Look, fucking Donald Trump is a billionaire. Do you think that system makes sense? Did he work that much harder than everybody else? No, he didn't. He's an asshole whose dad was a fucking multi-hundred millionaire. He was born with a silver spoon in his mouth. He's an obnoxious asshole. He failed up his entire life. I mean, literally 60% of people who are billionaires were born into extreme wealth. This is not the harder you work, the further you go. I know so many people who work full-time job, multiple jobs, 2 jobs, 3 jobs in some cases, and they still live below the poverty line. Some of the hardest working people I know live at or below the poverty line. So it's got nothing to do with how hard you work, okay? It's got nothing to do with how smart you are. We have a lot of intelligence that's totally wasted because it's not harnessed properly. Because our system is geared towards profit. Capitalism is about profit. Capitalism is about enriching the billionaire class, the Epstein class, okay? And unfortunately, oftentimes now we have a race to the bottom with capitalism. Socialism needs to be there to check capitalism's ass, okay? To get it in line, to regulate it, to make sure that the quest for profit doesn't happen at the expense of every other fucking thing that we value. I've said this a million times, but your economic value is not the same as your human value, right? Elon Musk is going to be a fucking trillionaire. Is that his human value? Did he just work that much harder than everybody else? Fuck no. No. We need to start valuing people at a human level more than an economic level now. Like that, we have a crisis under capitalism where all anybody cares about is the size of your wallet. And your life is dictated by the size of your wallet, the size of your bank account. And that mindset is changing. That mindset is changing. People are waking up to the fact that it's all fucking bullshit. That it's all bullshit. We can craft a society however we want to craft a society. And what we should do is tax the shit out of the wealthy, take that money, redistribute it to give people a chance at a decent life. Give people social housing, universal health care, free college, no medical debt, a living wage. Like, this is obvious. This is duh stuff. Even if we just taxed the rich and didn't do those things, it would still be better because extreme wealth corrupts democracy, and we don't want to corrupt democracy. So even if we were just taxing them for the sake of taxing them, that would still be better. But no, we can actually tax them and use that money to fix stuff, right? I know, crazy. Crazy, the idea that we can actually try to make things better. And by the way, that idea is just dead to most people in this country. The idea we can try to make things better, try to improve things, try to actually look towards a bright future. We're also nihilistic because everything's been erased to the bottom under capitalism in this country. Well, when you look at a guy like Zohran, you go, oh, finally a guy who gets it. A guy who's willing to say, how about I use the power of government for good? How about I use the power of government to help out working people? How about I try to, yes, spread the wealth around a little bit. Do wealth redistribution, that dirty word. Wealth redistribution used to be called common sense. That's what it is. Because everybody used to understand, hey, having a trillionaire, but also like 600,000 homeless Americans, that seems fucked up. That seems bad. That seems not right. Got like 60,000 homeless veterans too, but you got a trillionaire, soon to be trillionaire in Elon Musk. Like, I don't know, man. We don't need to accept that. That's not just a law of nature or a fact of reality. Like, you could change that fact. Like, there are things you could do through policy to fix that. So, God bless him, man. I just love it. Ronald Reagan. I can think of Ronald Reagan. I'm from the government and I'm here to help. Is the scariest words in the English language. That's what Reagan said. Zohran says, no, the actual scariest words are, I worked all day and can't feed my family. And you know what? That's exactly where we're at now. With the Epstein class in control, with the billionaires in control, with the fascist, terrorist, imperialist MAGA regime in control. That's where we are. $5 a gallon gas. You have inflation out of control, unemployment out of control, people struggling, 18 million people losing their health care, health insurance premiums doubling and tripling. If every Democrat talked like Zohran Mamdani, we would be looking at a blue wave, the likes of which we've never seen before.
Hey y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.
Guys, we're now at the point where discussing Trump's corruption doesn't even require any commentary. It doesn't even require an argument. Just by simply objectively describing what he's doing, that alone will leave you dumbfounded. It will leave you awestruck. It will leave you just, I don't even have the right word for it. I don't know. There is no word in the English language that can actually encapsulate what this man is doing. What this man is doing and how you should be just, grossed out by it. Just, ugh. I'm struggling to come up with the words here, quite literally. So Rachel Maddow covered some of the new Trump corruption revelations here. And I think this clip speaks for itself. Let's take a look and then we'll break it down. Here we go.
Don't worry, though. The president himself can handle a lot of this health stuff himself. He does appear really focused on it in a very specific way. Headline: Trump bought stock in drug maker as his government boosted its obesity drugs. just before taking unprecedented action to boost the flagship obesity drug of the drug company Eli Lilly, Trump bought hundreds of thousands of dollars of stock in Eli Lilly. This happened while he's president. Joe Biden didn't trade stocks while he was in office. Barack Obama didn't trade stocks while he was in office.
We should take a moment and reflect on that too. In today's day and age, one of the things that has to happen is everybody has to finally let go for good of this bullshit notion that both sides are the same, actually. They're the same. Both sides do it. Both sides are the same, bro. They're just like, they're equal. They're equally bad. Both sides. No, that is what we call a false equivalence. It is complete and utter horseshit. I have many criticisms of the Democrats. If you watch my show over the years, you will know my criticisms of the Democrats. You can repeat them right now without me saying anything, okay? However, the Republican Party is on another level. They are on another level. The Republican Party absolutely is. I'm not just saying this. It is true. They are a fascist, terrorist, imperialist death cult. Their corruption is also off the fucking charts. So I don't want to hear it. Something like that is not something to gloss over. It's not some little thing. No, whatever corruption there is when it comes to Obama and Biden are nothing in comparison to Trump and his regime. They are fucking Boy Scouts compared to Trump and his regime. And there's just one example of, I'm just not going to, it would obviously be unethical if I were to personally buy and sell stocks. I'm not going to do that. That wouldn't be right. Whereas Trump, as you're about to see, is making hundreds of millions of dollars, not only from buying and selling stocks and insider trading, but manipulating the market. Also, manipulating the market during a war. During a war. He will use the war to, short oil and then say something to make oil go down or make oil go up. Like, he will bet in accordance with what show he's putting on, what line he's putting out there about where we are with the peace negotiations and whether or not he's going to attack. This is fucking insane shit, bro. This is insane. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear both sides. Shut the fuck up forever. I immediately lose all respect for somebody if they do some both side shit. Immediately. Like, I'm just like, okay, you're just not a serious person. Because, like, obviously, you're obviously not following this shit, right? If you say something like that. Like, it's impossible. If you actually are educated on this shit and you follow this shit and you follow the news on a daily basis and you look at all the details and all the specifics, you cannot walk away from that going, both sides. Like, no, shut the fuck up forever.
Trump is apparently trading stocks while he is in office. And since we got his financial disclosure about those stock trades late last week, right, detailing this bizarre and incredibly energetic stock trading that the president has been doing while he has been president. Now, with each passing hour, we're getting more and more reporting coming out about how his stock buying as president tracks with things he's doing as president to boost the value of those stocks. I mean, it's just incredible. So in January, Trump buys hundreds of thousands of dollars of stock in NVIDIA. Then a week later, his Commerce Department approves the sale of NVIDIA trips to China. Also in January, Trump buys between $50,000 and $100,000 worth of stock in AMD, which is another chip maker. 1 week after he buys it, his Commerce Department approves AMD doing business in China as well. Following month in February, Trump buys millions of dollars worth of stock in Dell. Dell Computers, right? Dell Technologies. 9 days after he buys millions of dollars worth of stock in Dell, Trump veers off script in a speech in Georgia to tell the crowd literally, quote, go out and buy a Dell computer. Then in March, he buys up a whole bunch of stock in a company called Thermo Fisher. Repeated purchases of Thermo Fisher. Judd Legum at Popular Information reports that Trump repeatedly buys up Thermo Fisher stock. And then he goes and visits Thermo Fisher on a presidential visit.
I was wondering when he went, I remember this. He went to that plant. I'm like, what fucking company is this? This is not some shit. Like, why would a president visit this company? Now you know why. It's literally all like he is an empty void of a man. And he just packs it all with malignant narcissism and greed and selfishness and being a little piggy. And it's all like, more money, more power, more control. Like, everything he does is for that shit. He has never once given a single solitary fuck about the American people. If he did, he wouldn't have kicked 18 million people off Medicaid and doubled and tripled health insurance premiums. Wouldn't have done it. Okay? He wouldn't have lost hundreds of thousands of manufacturing jobs after running as the guy who's going to revive manufacturing. Wouldn't have done it. Simply wouldn't have done it. wouldn't keep cutting taxes for the wealthy and subsidizing the wealthy, the Epstein class, the billionaires, as he raises taxes on the working class. He wouldn't have done that if he actually gave a shit about you.
And on this presidential visit to Thermo Fisher, he praises the company repeatedly as an incredible company. He says, as president, that he wants other pharmaceutical companies to start working with Thermo Fisher.
Oh my
God. He buys their stock and then he goes out and boosts the company as president.
Bro, if I'm being real, straight to prison. He should be in handcuffs now. Like right now, he should be in handcuffs. The fact that, I mean, I'm not sure, and I mean this when I say this, I'm not sure this man has gone a day without breaking the law since 2017. I'm serious. Not a day. The fact that we allow this, the fact that we know this shit and we're all just sitting around, like, honestly, shame on us, too. Like, shame on us. Shame on me. Shame on you. Shame on everybody. Shame on all of us. Shame on, forget the Republicans. Oh, my God. They should all be locked up, right? But the Democrats, too. Shame on you guys, man. Like, do some shit. Do something. Do something. We're just going to sit here and watch this and act like it's okay? Like, I swear, man, he could fucking nuke Greenland, and we'd still just sort of be sitting here watching him go, like, damn, I hope he doesn't nuke another country. Like, that's what would end up happening. Because how can we look at this and act like, oh yeah, the country's still functioning? Like, really? To me, it looks like a failed state. It looks like the law is not a thing anymore. And by the way, as you all know, Trump, all these handpicked judges that he's put on the bench, you go look, when Congress grills them, across the board, none of them will admit that Trump lost the 2020 election. None of them. So, like, yeah, the idea of, like, the law being blind and justice being a real thing, and a system that makes sense with checks and balances and reason and logic. No, that's all out the window now. That's all out the window. If you get in front of a Republican judge, I mean, shit, you might as well, there's no hope of you actually getting to the truth, actually getting a reasonable conclusion to a case. Like, their decisions are all going to be fucking horseshit because they're in a cult and they've been ordered by the cult leader to be wrong on everything, and they will. That's what'll happen. So, they'll talk about, we need to pack the Supreme Court like nobody's fucking business. These Republican judges all got to fucking go. Whatever Democrats need to do to clear the bench of these psychopaths, you have to do it. Because with them having any power, we will never have a country again. Like, I don't think you truly understand that.
Like, also notes that same day, March 11th, same day as the Thermo Fisher visit, that same day, Trump bought hundreds of thousands of dollars of stock in Apple. And then that same day he bought the stock, he did another event where he singled out Apple and Apple CEO Tim Cook for praise. Apple, a great company. Then after that, Trump buys between $50,000 and $100,000 of Micron stock. Okay? Between $50,000 and $100,000 in Micron stock. The very next day, he calls into the Fox News channel and tells them, Micron, it's one of the hottest companies. Then it's Palantir, CNBC reporting. Trump makes 7 separate purchases of Palantir stock, hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of Palantir stock. Then he gets on Truth Social and praises Palantir. Palantir Technologies, great capabilities and equipment. He literally even posted the stock ticker abbreviation for Palantir.
Oh my God.
Right after he bought hundreds of thousands of dollars of their stock and got online to boost it, giving people the stock ticker abbreviation to make it easier for them to go buy some Palantir, to boost the value of the stock he just bought before he said this online. This just appears to be just fantastically, kaleidoscopically corrupt.
And what people need to understand is that it is quite literally everything with this man. Everything with this man, there's an ulterior motive. Every single thing. Like, you're talking about this kind of corruption. How about this kind of corruption? Trump took $100 million from a pro-Israel mega donor named Miriam Adelson. Okay? And in return for that, the quid pro quo is you need to let Israel fully annex the West Bank. Steal all of this territory that is not theirs. It's Palestinians. I'll give you all this money. You need to let Israel commit egregious international crimes and steal territory. And he's totally cool with it. Totally fine with it. In the same way, in the first term, he let them steal the Golan Heights, which is Syrian territory. So there's nothing you can look at with him that does not come back to some sort of deal, some sort of corruption, some sort of pay-to-play shit. And it's not just him, it's his entire crime family. And that's what they are. They are a crime family. People don't talk about this, but Trump's kids started this thing called the Executive Branch Club. It costs $500,000 to join. And if you get in that club, you're like buying access to the president and buying access to special favors and tax cuts and subsidies and government contracts and shit. Like, the whole point of there's not even a cover story. The whole point of the club is come be corrupt with us. That's where we're at now. I mean, we're at the point where Don Jr. can invest in a company, and then that company gets a $620 million contract from the government, from the Office of Strategic Capital. That's where we're at. So, they're so high on their own supply, there's been no consequences for them for so fucking long that they actually feel like, no, we could literally do anything, and it's okay. Who's going to stop us? Nobody's going to fucking stop us. And we're all supposed to sit here and watch that like fucking suckers and be okay with this man staying in power, right? And be okay with, him getting treated like any other president. Like, nah, man, I'm sorry. He's got to be arrested. He's got to be locked up. He's got to be in there for life. I mean, we've never seen anything like this. And by the way, shame on the entire Republican Party. Because now, with Trump ousting Bill Cassidy and Thomas Massie, there is a 0% chance any of these little cuck bitches will break with Trump on fucking anything. The Republican Party, as an organization, needs to go extinct. It needs to not be a thing anymore. And like I always tell you guys, in the same way Nazi Germany had denazification, we need demagnification in this country. Because we have to reckon with the history of what we're witnessing here. That, basically the worst man on earth ran the country for an extended period of time and garnered a following that's a cult following. And they actively were trying to harm people who don't think like them. They actively were trying to tank this country and loot the treasury as it was going down. Again, we've never seen anything like this. And here you have Rachel Maddow, who's seen quite a bit of stuff in her time, and even she is completely awestruck by what she's witnessing with the extent of the corruption and the lack of even a basic attempt to put up some sort of veneer or smoke screen. It's just like, yeah, we're doing it, and there's nothing you can do to stop it, so fucking accept it. That's where Trump is now.
Hey y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.
All right, y'all, so Ted Cruz. I'm Ted Cruz. I'm Ted Cruz. Me. Ted Cruz, he was walking in the Capitol seemingly here, and you have a TMZ reporter asked him a very fucking good question. The question is about Trump basically robbing American taxpayers and using that money to not only pay off himself and his family and his friends, but also pay insurrectionists and terrorists from January 6th, people who assaulted cops and whatnot. And, it's a very good question because it literally is like Hitler did something very similar. Hitler set up a slush fund to pay, the stormtroopers to do his dirty work. So what Trump is doing is like, hey, if you do crimes for me, you will be rewarded for that. So remember that next time I need you to do crimes for me. Very clearly setting up stealing the election in 2026 and 2028. That's what's happening here. On top of just looting the treasury and robbing the American people. So this is something that literally nobody can defend. I don't care who you are. I don't care what you do. I don't care what your ideology is or what party you belong to. It is impossible to defend this in good faith. It's not possible. And so that's why the TMZ, who I told you they were going to do a good job, and they're already doing a good job over on Capitol Hill. I knew TMZ would immediately start lapping like CNN and all the mainstream outlets. And this guy just asks him and won't let Ted off the hook here. And Ted Cruz basically twists himself into a pretzel and shits his pants as he tries to explain away and rationalize and justify this very obvious crime spree that his fat pedophile rapist president is currently engaged in. Let's listen.
I'm a little concerned that January 6 rioters, violent January 6 rioters who were convicted and then pardoned.
By the way, look at Ted's smug ass face. There's never been a smugger man on earth than this. I mean, Bill Maher is up there too, but I'm Ted Cruz. Me. Ted at this point should just literally tattoo on his forehead, punch me in the face. Because he has a face that just, if somebody actually punched Ted Cruz in the face, there's a chance a judge would be like, I'm sorry, I gotta let him go. Because Ted basically was like, just Ted's existence is like begging for being punched in the face. That's just what it is. Nobody should actually punch anybody in the face. I'm not advocating that. I'm not advocating violence by any stretch of the imagination. I'm just saying that if you're ranking punchable faces, like he is off the charts, dog. He is the fucking Tiger Woods, Michael Jordan, fucking the creme de la creme, LeBron James of punch me in the face type shit. So here's I'm Ted Cruz. Go ahead, ask me a question so I can dodge it and lie and bob and weave and be a smug little weasel. Me.
I'm a little worried that they're going to be entitled to taxpayer money, that money's going to come out of my pocket and go into their pockets. Do you think violent, convicted, and then pardoned January 6 rioters, do you think they should be eligible for this sort of slush fund?
By the way, all he has to say is, no, if they committed violence, I don't support that. That's it. He could say that, and that would be a fine answer. And honestly, I don't think, with all the shit going on, I don't even think Trump would see that and then like be mad about it and start tweeting against Ted Cruz. That's all he would have to do. Say, no. He could even say, I think the ones who committed violence, no, they shouldn't get the money. But most of those people didn't commit violence, and should they potentially be compensated? Well, yeah, because maybe they were treated unfairly by the government. He could even say something like that, which is still like a very pro-MAGA, pro-Trump thing. He can't fucking help himself because he's a smarmy little smug-ass weasel. And listen to what he says.
I'm not surprised you're worried about that, but I'm curious, were you worried at all when Joe Biden was weaponizing the Department of Justice?
I don't want to talk about Joe Biden, sir.
Are we really doing this, Ted? Joe Biden was weaponizing the Justice Department. Joe Biden was not weaponizing the Justice. He so wasn't weaponizing the Justice Department that there were many high-profile cases against Democrats. Okay? The Justice Department was so weaponized that they took down Bob Menendez. You bitch. The Justice Department was so weaponized that fucking Hunter Biden was facing charges. And Biden didn't interfere at all. Like, what are you talking about? There were like a number, what was it, like 6, 7, 8 different high-profile Democrats that had some semblance of charges against them. Wasn't Rod Blagojevich another one of them? Like, if they're weaponizing the Justice Department, then why is it they went after a bunch of Democrats and then also didn't go hard enough at Trump? Merrick Garland basically sat on his fucking ass and did dick and dragged his feet way too long, and Trump ended up getting off even though he was charged with 91 crimes when you take the state and the federal ones all together, right? Like, who are we kidding? There was zero weaponization, zero, by Joe Biden. Zero, none, zilch. Whereas Trump cannot go a day without weaponizing. How many fucking bullshit charges did he muck up against James Comey? He fucking arrested Don Lemon. They arrested Don Lemon for doing his job, for being a reporter, for talking to people on the street. Are you fucking kidding me? They deported people who made jokes about Charlie Kirk. They deport people or arrest people who are anti-genocide and protest Israel. Are you fucking kidding me? You want to talk about weaponization? You want to talk about weaponization? Oh my God, bro. I can't. This man is so dishonest. This is a fucking Ivy League educated son of a bitch here talking. I can't, bro.
When Joe Biden was weaponizing the Department of Justice.
I don't want to talk about Joe Biden, sir.
I know you don't. I understand you got a political agenda.
No, I don't.
Oh, he's got a political agenda. What about you, Ted? What about you? Sounds to me like he just doesn't want money going to violent terrorists who assaulted cops. That's what it sounds like to me. But that's a political agenda. What about you? Is it a political agenda for you when you slurp Trump sloppy from the back? When you suck his nuts, when you gargle his nuts from the back? Is that a political agenda? No, that's not. That doesn't count. It doesn't count when what you're doing is deeply political in every sense of the word.
I just don't want to pay January 6 riders.
Look, I get. You get to ask a question.
Can you
I get
answer?
to give the answer. I'm giving you my answer.
Okay.
Which is that you were not remotely concerned when Joe Biden weaponized the Department of Justice.
Gotcha.
I can't even listen to his like smug politician routine. The way he talks, like, but you weren't remotely concerned. Like, why do you sound like you're giving a stump speech right now? What is this fucking like act? This like face you put on and the tone of voice? Like, shut the fuck up. Everything about you is fake. Everything about you.
To go after his political opponents, to prosecute them, to go after Donald Trump. Trump was indicted not once, 4 separate times.
Gotcha.
The greatest abuse of the rule of law in our nation's history.
Do you think January 6 rioters should be eligible for this money? Yes or no?
I think what the Biden Justice Department did was they prosecuted people who engaged in peaceful protest. I believe...
I'm not talking about Biden.
But if you want me to answer, let me answer.
Okay.
This guy thinks he's going to be president, by the way. I'm not kidding. This guy thinks he's going to be president. I've let off wet farts that have a better chance of becoming president than you. Okay? I can go to the local middle school and point at a random kid. That kid has a better chance of becoming president than you, Ted Cruz, you smarmy son of a bitch. How dare he? Like, how dare he? Like, really? This is how you answer the question? Incapable of meeting the political moment. Obviously, on the substance, it's bad and dumb and wrong, but also just how he handles it. Like, there's more artful ways to dodge some shit They go into your long soliloquy where you basically say, everything Joe Biden did was bad and wrong, and everything Donald Trump did was actually great and awesome, and I love him, and I want to give him big smooches. I'm going to smooch him on the lips. I'm going to do this.
I believe people who engage in active violence should be prosecuted and face consequences.
Oh, really? Well, did you know that Trump pardoned all the people who committed acts of violence on January 6th? Did you know that? Did you know he pardoned fredophiles? Did you know that? Did you know he pardoned people who committed fraud and then got arrested again and sentenced again, and then Trump pardoned them again? He pardoned the same fraudster multiple times. Did you know that? Did you know he pardoned people from January 6th who ended up killing people, quite literally? Did you know that? Did you? No, oh, that's weird. You're not talking about that at all, are you? You're even a generally people who commit violence. Fuck you. You didn't say shit when Trump pardoned those people. You support it because you're a bitch.
I believe people who engage in peaceful protest are protected under the First Amendment, and I think that...
Unless they criticize Israel, or if they joke about Charlie Kirk, or if they say or do anything Donald Trump doesn't like, in which case then I revoke that and we get to do whatever we want with them.
The Biden Department of Justice deliberately targeted people who engage in peaceful protests.
So yes or no to my question?
And by the way, I wrote an entire book on this entitled Justice Corrupted, How the Left
Sir,
Weaponized
please
Legal
just answer
System.
my question.
And why are you not concerned about the abuse of power?
Because I'm concerned about this.
Why are you not concerned about the abuse of power? Me. I think what he's saying is he's exactly concerned about the abuse of power, and Donald Trump is actually abusing his power, whereas you're making up instances of Democrats doing that. Oh my God.
Today.
I know you're concerned about it.
So you won't answer the question.
Your political agenda
it's
is
no
on
agenda.
one side.
Are you going to answer the question, sir?
I have answered
You
your question.
didn't.
It's just not consistent.
Do you
with your
think the
political
January 6
ideology.
rioters are eligible?
You should be ashamed of yourself if you're a Republican. Like, literally, you should be ashamed of yourself. There's no room anymore to be a Republican. If you're a Republican, it's like something's wrong with you.
Well, for the slush fund. Thanks, Ted.
Unbelievable. By the way, we need every reporter acting like that. We need every, person who's supposed to be a journalist acting like that, asking questions like that, being aggressive like that. Because look at how fucking stupid they are and dumb they are, and how obvious that is when you actually ask a real question and you hold them accountable. Look at it. It's all right there.
Hey y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.
So Andrew Callahan of Channel 5, he actually spoke to a bunch of ICE agents, and man, he was able to get them to open up. He was able to get them to tell the truth, and this shit is kind of wild because as bad as we think it is, perhaps it's like even worse, okay? When you have other ICE agents who got into this thing thinking it was going to be one way, and then even they're walking around going, you know what? This is actually evil. I think we have a problem. I think we have a problem in that scenario. So let's go ahead and dive right in, and we'll break it down. Here we
Alex
go.
Preddy, when he was shot, his hands were on the ground. He did not have a firearm in his hand. Border Patrol should not have been there.
I feel like our administration wanted this type of escalation. I don't think Renee Good deserved to be killed. We sometimes feel like they're waiting for one of us to be shot and killed.
What did you think about the Alex Preddy shooting?
That one was also particularly traumatic.
Since Trump got into office, there's been 33% less federal agent hours spent pursuing child predators than there was beforehand.
That's actually a great point. And people don't talk about this enough. But Stephen Miller made the order that, look, I don't want you going after cartels. I don't want you going after child sex trafficking rings. I don't want you going after actual organized crime. They actually were disbanding agencies that was their job. And instead, he was saying, go raid the Home Depot parking lot. Go raid the Lowe's. Go to the 7-Eleven and harass the people over there. Like, go after day laborers. This is what they did. Quite literally, the idea was we care about quantity, not quality of who we're going after. Whereas basically every other administration would say the opposite. We care about quality. We want you to, 3 times felon, for example, like get that person out of here, right? Like that you actually can get a warrant to arrest them and deport them and all that stuff. But Steve Miller's like, no, let's get record number of arrests, record number of deportations. Don't care who you're getting. Don't care if you're ripping apart families. Don't care if it's legal or not legal. Don't care if you have a warrant or not. Let's do it. Let's just do it. And so a lot of people don't know this. A lot of people don't know this. But when they learn this, their minds are blown. Like I remember Andrew Schultz, who was pro-Trump and helped Trump win. When he learned about this, he was like, bro, I looked up the numbers and like 95% of the people they're getting are not violent criminals. And it's like, yeah, we were all warning you about that shit. We were warning you that when Trump's out there saying that immigrants eat cats and dogs, number one, it's not true. Number two, he was literally talking about a legal immigrant community there. So clearly he was going to go after people who weren't the bad guys, quote unquote. Let's keep going.
Have there been child exploitation cases basically thrown out as a result of moving HSI manpower over to places like Minneapolis to enforce immigration?
There have absolutely been leads uninvestigated or closed out prematurely because we don't have the manpower, or the priority definitely feels like my purpose has been destroyed.
Okay, do you understand what he's saying there? We've had people call in with tips that say, hey, there's this Frediphile, and here's the backstory, and you got to look into this because you can deport this person. And he's saying we've dropped those cases to go raid the Lowe's parking lot. That's what he's saying. In every way, this regime is like just horrifically evil and atrocious. It's out of this fucking world.
I have no doubt that the American people have lost their faith in us. I lost our faith in us.
Minneapolis is...
Damn, an ICE agent himself going, I looked at how the sausage is really made, and I'm fucking disgusted. I lost faith in us. God damn.
Not in a better place than it was before Metro Surge. In fact, it's in a worse place. DHS's shenanigans in Minnesota over the winter cost the city of Minneapolis approximately $200 million in losses, $5 million in police overtime hours, $81 million in lost revenue for local businesses, and workers lost over $47 million in wages.
We were already in such a low morale situation. The way Border Patrol is operating, vigilante-ish, it feels lawless, operating as if anyone who looks like they may have crossed the border or didn't come from here is here illegally. I don't know that they're properly educated on the laws. You can't just see somebody walking on the street and assume that because they're in a Hispanic neighborhood that they are here illegally.
I had another white officer point directly at me like, hey, get his brown ass in line with the other detainees. And that's where it kind of dawned on me like, oh, these guys kind of have something against individuals of colors, or at least a few of their staff members do.
Oh, okay. Really, dude? You didn't realize that until what? You got a job with them? Really? Hey, it turns out ICE is racist, bro. Oh, are they? Shocker. I thought they were deporting blonde-haired, blue-eyed, white-skinned people. Come on, man. What are we doing here? Come on. Okay. I don't want to go too hard on him because obviously he's on the right side of it. It's just like kind of crazy that you had to like see it with your own eyes after you got hired by ICE. Okay. But guys, like this is crazy. So highly recommend go watch the whole thing. Andrew Callahan, Channel 5. He interviewed ICE agents. Highly, highly recommend it. We also have Status Coup says the following, quote, eat it or starve. Delaney Hall ICE guards told prisoners as they complained about worms in their food. Black mold is also rampant. Meanwhile, Trump pushes $1.8 billion slush fund for supporters. So now we're learning, not only, we knew the food was moldy, we knew that there were worms in them. There were multiple reports of exactly that happening. People getting sick, losing weight, not being able to eat because of that shit. Apparently, they're forcing them to eat it. They're saying eat it or starve. That is out of this fucking world. We also have this from More Perfect Union. Multiple ICE warehouses were sold by people in Trump's circle who were sitting on the properties and losing money. So not only is this basically, they're a criminal Gestapo is what ICE is. They're the new Gestapo. But also, there's a heaping amount of corruption that's baked into the cake here. In the same way, Alligator Alcatraz, remember that? Well, that's shutting down. Well, Florida taxpayers basically got robbed to the high heavens to build that thing in the first place, and DeSantis and Trump enriched all their contractors that they're friends with. So it's just like everything's just a grab bag of corruption. At the same time, they're quite literally doing fascism. They're also immensely, immensely corrupt, and a lot of bad people are getting very wealthy off this shit.
When DHS bought up warehouses to turn into ICE detention centers, I noticed something weird. Many of these warehouses had been sitting on the market for years, and now DHS was buying them at a massive markup, like this warehouse in Socorro, Texas.
They were sitting on the market for years, and DHS bought them at a massive markup, You would get a discount if it was sitting on the market for years. Every time, 10 out of 10 times, you would pay less, and they're paying more than what the asking price was. Fucking fishy as fuck. Well, we know what it is. It's not even fishy. It's just corruption. That's it, period.
That sold for 1,000% above its recent valuation.
Kristi Noem once championed this program, but now that she's out, the DHS Inspector General just launched an investigation into these warehouses.
To understand what was happening, I reached out to Michael Wriston, a former military analyst who's been tracking ICE warehouses on his site, Project Saltbox.
ICE doesn't necessarily want to be using warehouses. The plan came from folks very close to the White House who were sitting on properties that were causing them losses every year, and the decision was to buy them at taxpayer expense.
Okay, I'm sorry. We need mass arrests. I'm sorry. Anybody who's even remotely close to this regime, you need to investigate the shit out of them. You need to arrest them. Guaranteed, each individual you look into has committed at least a dozen crimes. I mean, this is out of control, bro. This alone would be a scandal to bring down any other administration. This administration, you won't even hear about it anywhere else.
Take a look at 3 ICE warehouse sales that have used your money to make people in Trump's orbit even richer. First up, Goldman Sachs. It was the majority owner of this warehouse in Roxbury, New Jersey, that ICE purchased for nearly $130 million. That's 137% over previous valuation in 2025. For years, Goldman Sachs executives have had close ties to Trump, like Steven Mnuchin, who served as Trump's Treasury Secretary in his first term. Next up, Blue Owl. You may not know this private capital company, but honestly, you should. 35
so all the Wall Street assholes are getting in on the fun. What a shock.
Members of Trump's administration reported investments in Blue Owl funds. Even Trump himself has over $5 million invested in Blue Owl, which has also been a major funder of data centers across the country. So maybe it's not a huge surprise that Blue Owl was paid about double the market valuation of a warehouse it owned in Tremont, Pennsylvania. And then there's Deutsche Bank. Through a series of subsidiaries, Deutsche Bank owned a warehouse in Salt Lake City that ICE is now planning to turn into a facility with about 10,000 beds. With their DHS markup, Deutsche Bank essentially pocketed nearly 50 million more taxpayer dollars than if they had sold at market value. Deutsche Bank has loaned Trump about $2.5 billion over the past 2 decades and had 40 different accounts with none other than Jeffrey Epstein.
Oh my word. Bro, you literally can't make this up. If I were to just like write a fictional version of events of how corrupt the Trump regime is, and I came up with this, you would take one look at it and go, Kyle, that's a little too extreme. It's a little too over the top. It's a little too comical. I mean, this is like they're a parody of themselves here. You're making them out to be like subhuman fucking monsters. Come on, man, reel it in a little bit. Make it a little more believable. But no, they're actually doing all this shit. I can't, bro. Oh my word. I can't, man. I'm losing it. And this is all, remember, this is all to increase the footprint of a mass kidnapping and abduction and human trafficking factory. That's what this is. And these are like literal concentration camps. They don't have warrants for the arrests. They, lock these people up. They don't abide by due process. I mean, this is a fucking nightmare. And you got people getting massively wealthy. Okay? I'm losing it, bro. Remember, over 4,000 people are missing because of ICE. Over 40 have died in ICE custody. There's allegations of them doing slavery at their camps. Okay? They're the type of people to tear gas a baby and assault married senior citizens. And in the midst of all of that, they're making a pretty penny. All the Wall Street goons, all the Trump regime, MAGA insiders, they're making a pretty ass penny off this. If you haven't woken up yet to this crime spree, I don't know what to tell you. But this is like quite literally out of this world.
Hey y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop. And watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.
So I feel like everybody has become numb to the reality of what Trump represents, because now, like, things that in the past would have been a big deal, like, nobody even talks about them. So first, take a look at this. Trump endorsed in Texas for the primary race there, the U.S. Senate primary race there, the Republican primary race. Ken Paxton, okay? Ken Paxton was impeached by his own party for bribery and corruption. He said the Uvalde school shooting was God's plan, the murder of all of those babies, and he gave a child sex abuser only a 60-day jail sentence. 60-day. I couldn't make up this guy being any more evil than he actually is. This guy's like a fucking comic book villain. Okay, first of all, you know who saved his ass when he was caught red-handed for bribery and corruption? Texas Republicans threw his ass under the bus because he was so comically corrupt and took bribes and was just a loathsome son of a bitch. Texas Republicans. And it was Trump who basically called off the dogs and was like, nope, you're not allowed to go after him. He has my protection now. That's what happened. Okay? Going soft on pedos, quite literally, gave a child sex abuser a 60-day jail sentence. So Ken Paxton also, as I said, was impeached by his own party for corruption, paid $300,000 to settle his felony fraud charges, had multiple extramarital affairs. So one of these, like, Texas family values, Christian conservative Republicans, man, I'm all about them family values. Apparently getting his D wet all over town. He contested the 2020 election, more on that in a minute, because it gets darker than that, okay? He was sued for firing whistleblowers. He's under investigation for mortgage fraud. So yet another way in which he's a total criminal, and he randomly was stealing shit like $1,000 pen from a lawyer. But I saved the juiciest thing, in my opinion, for the end here. This guy admitted in a very direct and upfront and straightforward way that he personally stole Texas during the election for Donald Trump over Joe Biden. I'm not kidding. That sounds fake. You're going to hear it right out of his mouth. Listen to this.
And that's why we fought off these 12 lawsuits. We had them in Houston, we had them in San Antonio, we had them in Austin, we had them in the counties where you'd have the most liberal judges. And it was a concerted effort nationally with lots of money going into it. And just knowing that we had 12 lawsuits that we had to win. And if we had lost one of them, like if we lost Harris County, Trump won by 620,000 votes in Texas. Harris County mail-in ballots that they wanted to send out were 2.5 million. Those were all illegal, and we were able to stop every one of them. Had we not done that, we would have been in the very same situation. We would have been on election night. I was watching election night, and I knew when I saw what was happening in these other states that would have been Texas. We would have been in the same boat. We would have been one of those battleground states that they were counting votes in Harris County for 3 days, and Donald Trump would have lost the election.
So do you understand what he said there? It's crazy to me that more people don't play this clip. It is a crime that this isn't played every time Ken Paxton's name is mentioned. But this guy quite literally and directly admitted here that if I didn't intervene as the attorney general in Texas at the time, that's what he was, then Biden would have won in Texas, is what he's saying. He's saying, I personally sued in 12 different cases and blocked the counting of 2.5 million mail-in ballots. And as you all know, when it comes to mail-in ballots, the typical rule of thumb is Democrats won those overwhelmingly, especially during COVID, which, that was happening at the time, because they're more health conscious. They want to stay home. They want to vote by mail, do the social distancing, stay safer, right? Whereas Republicans are more likely to let it rip and vote on the day of. So the day of votes were counted. Trump was up there. Bro, he's saying here Biden won, and I blocked 2.5 million mail-in votes from being counted, and because of that, that's the only reason Trump won. He's bragging about stealing the Texas election for Donald Trump in 2020. He's literally bragging about that. By the way, now you might wonder, hey, why did Trump endorse him? Well, there's one of the reasons. Now, to be fair, John Cornyn also slurps Trump from the back. There's no doubt about that, and that's the guy who he endorsed against. But, I don't know, this seems like a big deal to me because this is a guy who's willing to do fucking anything for you, dog. This is a guy who's willing to commit all sorts of crimes for you. This is a guy who's got no bones to pick whatsoever with your corruption. He's probably giving you a piece of the action, bro. He probably is like, hey, dog, I'll give you an extra 5% if you vote for me in terms of kicking it up to the big guy, if you know what I'm saying, in a mob-style organization type shit. I have no doubt something like that's going on with him. This is out of this world, man. And like I said, we've all just become numb to what this man is and what he does and how out of his mind he is, man. I mean, this is literally outside of Trump is the most corrupt man ever in this country's history, okay? This guy might be number 2. And he's also a pedo-protecting election rigger and, probably 70,000 other negative things that we don't even know the half of yet. But when you're so corrupt that even Texas Republicans are like, hey, dog, you got to reel it in. Oh, my word. It doesn't get any darker than that. It's kind of crazy because, the further left you go on the political spectrum, the more it's the better the person is. They're fighting really hard for universal health care and ending the wars and free college and a higher minimum wage. But the further right you go on the political spectrum, the more you get to pedo-protecting election riggers who are insanely corrupt and are literal criminals. That's just how it works.
Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You want to.
So the billionaire Jeff Bezos decided to talk to CNBC, and all I have to say is this was a tremendous mistake, okay? This is just a horrible idea, because these billionaires don't realize, bro, literally everybody hates you. People caught on to it. There was a time when Republicans were successful in convincing working people that, hey, the real problem is the immigrants and the black people and the trans people and the Muslims and the this and the that. And that divide and conquer is not working anymore. People are beginning to look up. They're beginning to look at the billionaires for being the ultimate cause of all the economic problems, because we basically have Gilded Age income and wealth inequality and people aren't given a fair shake. We need to raise your fucking taxes, and we need to redistribute that money, give people a chance at the American dream, give people healthcare, give people education, give people higher wages, give people paid time off by law. I mean, this stuff is like very basic shit. People are catching on. And so I guess he's trying to do a little cleanup job here. Now, a couple things right off the bat. Notice, just like Joe Rogan, he's had a little bit too much testosterone replacement therapy. Little too many steroids, too much HGH, and he's beginning to look like a flat out different person. And you could see that in his face. That's point number one. Point number two is, man, he must be so deep in that bubble and surrounded by yes men that nobody around him was like, hey man, you really shouldn't be saying these things. This is going to lead to a revolt. So here we go. Let's start with this clip right here where he talks about Trump and how, Trump he's become more wise with his, as the years go on here. Watch this.
When I last interviewed you, it was about 2 years ago.
By the way, it's awesome how like there's apparently a fucking jet engine in the background when you're live on TV. Really good planning. Good place to shoot this to shoot this interview. Good idea.
President Trump had just won. He was not the president yet. And I'd asked you what you thought of him at the time. And you said that you thought that he had mellowed, that he was calmer.
Yeah.
And I'm curious now, here we are.
Yeah, I still think that.
2 years later, we've had lots of we have wars and tariffs and all sorts of things that have happened since then. What do you think?
I think he has. I mean, I'm comparing him to his first term, and I think he is a more mature, more disciplined version of himself than he was in his first term.
That is literally the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. He knows he's lying. Everybody knows he's lying. Because in his first term, Trump was at least surrounded by some people who were adults to one extent or another. And, they would make sure that when Trump's like, let's shoot protesters in the leg, they'd be like, no, sir, let's not actually do that. That's kind of illegal and not okay. I want to invoke the Insurrection Act. Let's do that. Let's invoke. And they're like, no, sir, we actually don't deploy the U.S. military against our own people in our own streets. Thank you very much. There were so many instances like that where, Trump wanted to do tariffs in the first term. And who was it? Gary Cohn, I believe, was like, yeah, here's why we can't do that. Let me walk you through why this makes no economic sense and we'll fuck everything up. Now, I mean, he's surrounded by sycophants and yes men and the worst people in the country. And so now he's like, let's do another 7 wars. I love wars. Let's bomb more people. Let's steal all the oil and the gold from Venezuela. I love that. Let's carpet bomb a girls' school in Iran. Let's do 17 different massively corrupt schemes where I rob the American people. Let's do all that. And here's Jeff Bezos. Slurp City, son. Slurp City going, he's actually more mature. He's actually kind of brilliant. He's actually genius. He actually has slimmed down quite a bit. His dick is looking mighty thick these days, bro. I mean, he's got a big old schlong. That guy right there, that's a special guy right there. Oh, my word. The way Capitol always fucking caves to the fascists is so disturbing. So disturbing. It doesn't matter what Trump does. To keep getting the tax cuts, to keep getting the subsidies, to keep getting the favorable contracts, he will always slurp them nuts from the back, bro. That's what he will do, and he'll continue.
And he's again. I've worked with all the presidents. I will work with all the presidents. And I hope to do that going forward if they'll have me. But we need our business leaders to provide input into the administration.
No, what you and the business leaders have done is you've cucked yourselves to a fascist. That's what you've done. So you can keep getting those tax cuts and those subsidies and those contracts, and you're engaging in the corruption because you know that that's the game that Trump likes to play.
Regardless of who the president is, I'm not on the side. Yep. You know what? I'm on the side of America.
Very pro-America of you to slurp the fascists from the back. Very pro-America of you. As this guy loots the treasury and destroys the country and collapses the economy and blows up all sorts of civilian infrastructure all over the world and ruins all of our alliances. Very pro-America of you to sit there and be like, oh yeah, right on. I love America. Fuck you. God, billionaires are so fucking disgusting.
And that is so important. And that's where business leaders should be. It's just,
and do you think they're not?
I think we are, but we get perceived as being partisan or whatever. I was helping Obama every chance I could.
Oh, shut the fuck up. Policy doesn't matter to you unless it affects your bottom line, right? So they don't care. If there's a kill all trans people bill tomorrow, you wouldn't say dick. You wouldn't say shit, would you? You wouldn't say anything. Why? Because again, if I speak out against it, maybe he'll take away my subsidies. So you're a bitch. That's what you are. You're a bitch. No matter how much TRT you take, doesn't change the fact they got some baby nuts, son.
Helping Biden every chance I could. I still call Obama for advice. He's a very smart guy. And, and by the way, people that are, Trump has lots of good ideas and he's been right about a lot of things. You have to give him credit where credit is due.
Oh, you see how these people are hacks? Do you understand it? After watching this, you should never, ever, 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 ever again make the mistake of saying wealthy people have to be smart. They have to be intelligent. So you could tell he's also just trying to convince himself there that he's right. All right, now let's go to this one. Here's where he goes like, bro, don't be crazy. You want me to pay more taxes, bro? You want me to pay more taxes? Bro, that's like crazy, bro. Here, listen to it.
And Elizabeth Warren has made this point repeatedly. I think she's made it in reference to you and others, are able to pay a lower tax rate, even though you're paying an enormous sum in taxes, a lower tax rate than maybe I am,
these people sometimes say that, I don't pay taxes. That's not true. I pay billions of dollars in taxes. And it's a perfect, again, if people want me to pay more billions, then let's have that debate. But don't pretend, that's going to solve the problem. You could double the taxes I pay, and it's not going to help that teacher in Queens. I promise you.
That's total bullshit. That's one of the biggest lies I've ever heard. That is exactly who it would help. That's point number one. Point number two is, well, I pay taxes, bro. First of all, why are you being so defensive? Is it because you don't actually pay taxes? I looked it up. ProPublica actually did a big piece on this not that long ago, in 2021. His effective tax rate, his true tax rate, that's what an effective rate is, his true tax rate, 0.98%. He doesn't even pay 1%. Whereas you and me, like suckers, are paying, I don't even know my exact rate, but 30, 35, something like that. When you include the state, it probably goes up even more. So I'm here doing my patriotic duty. You're out there doing your patriotic duty. I don't have a team of lawyers. I don't have a team of fucking experts to find 78 loopholes so I can get away with paying nothing, right? Nor do I even think that's moral or ethical to do. He pays 0.98%. Oh, definitely don't raise my taxes. That'd be a horrible idea. It'd be a terrible idea to raise my taxes. What, you think you're going to help teachers by raising my taxes? It definitely wouldn't help the teachers. It definitely wouldn't help the teachers. It absolutely 100% would help the teachers, you disgusting roided out bitch. By the way, shout out to Warren Gunnels. He says, Bernie's 5% wealth tax would raise starting teacher pay to $60,000. So you're already wrong. Don't think, it's not going to help teachers. It literally is going to help teachers. It literally is going to help teachers. It would give $12,000 to a working family of 4. It would expand Medicare for dental, vision, and hearing. It would guarantee universal child care, and it would end homelessness. Okay? And what does Warren Gunnell say? Bezos would see his wealth drop from $279 billion to $265 billion. Poor guy. And here he is. Could you imagine how much of a demon you have to be? How fucking evil and satanic you have to be to go out there and say, oh, I refuse to go down to $265 billion to make sure that teachers get paid a decent fucking wage and that people can have dental care and to make sure we have universal child care. That's how selfish you are? That tiny tax would solve so many problems for so many people. No, I don't want to do that. What a fucking disgusting, disgusting man. Oh my God. I'm sorry, bro. They need to be brought to fucking heel. Do you understand that? We're in a new robber baron era. These motherfuckers are way too high in their own supply. They're way too powerful. They need to be brought to heel by the American people. Like, hey, bitch, you only exist in this country and get to, be as wealthy and powerful as you are because we allow you to, within the rules and the guidelines and the parameters that we say are okay. I'm tired of living in a country where 600,000 people are homeless, but this motherfucker's got over $250 billion, and motherfucking Elon Musk, with the IQ of an orangutan, is about to be worth $1 trillion? Get the fuck out of here.
So you can't connect those two things, not logically.
Why would you say such a thing that's so obviously untrue?
There are more examples. Why is rent expensive? Why is rent so expensive? I recently saw somebody blamed it on Airbnb. Okay, Airbnb is not the cause of expensive rent. In fact, it's been almost, let me finish here 1 sec. It's already been outlawed in New York City, and rents are still very high. So we know Airbnb isn't causing high rents. What's really causing high rent is government intervention.
Oh no, oh, he's a classic libertarian, bro. Oh, kill me. Meanwhile, Zohran's out there like, hey, we did this policy called freezing the rent. And you know what it's going to do? It's going to freeze the rent. Go ahead, tell me, big brain man, about how actually that's not the way you freeze the rent by freezing the rent. The way you do that is by empowering the free marketplace, and the marketplace will fix it. You got to get the government out of the way, and then magically, with my unfettered capitalist fairy dust, all of a sudden everything will be less expensive, even though it's actually going to be more expensive. Fuck you. Fuck you. Grown-ass man fucking taking steroids and dating that weirdo that he's married to, or like, God, he's just so gross. All right, final one here. Now he's going to talk about income and wealth inequality. This is Rich.
I think what's going on is that it's kind of a tale of two economies.
Congratulations, bro. Congratulations. The guy who just said, don't raise my taxes, is now going, turns out there's like a tale of two economies, bro. Do you guys believe this? I see like a lot of people with not that much money, bro. Who did this? Who did this? Fuck you. How are these people real?
I have a bunch of people in this country who are doing really well, but you also have a bunch of people in this country who are struggling to pay rent, groceries. And so what's happening here is politicians are using the kind of age-old technique. So there's this tale of two economies, and they're using this age-old technique of, picking a villain and pointing fingers.
You just admitted that it's true. You just admitted there's a tale of two economies, and some people are struggling. There's the haves and the have-nots. And by the way, I wish politicians were going, yeah, it's the billionaires. They're the problem, because you are the fucking problem. But they're not. Not nearly enough of them are saying the right thing. Bernie is, AOC is. There's like some that are, Abdul El-Sayed, Graham Platter, they'll say it. But most are not. But he's going, oh, don't say that. It happens to be true. I mean, false. Definitely don't blame me. Like, fuck you. It is your fault. It is your fault, 100%.
But the problem is that doesn't solve anything. And so, like, if you want to help the group of people who are struggling, you have to figure out real root causes and solutions, and that takes skill.
Here's the thing. It actually does solve things. You cannot solve something until you first diagnose the problem. If the answer is chemotherapy, you have to know, well, it's cancer. They have cancer. We found the problem. The solution is the chemotherapy, right? So the billionaires are the problem. Capitalism is the problem. Massive income and wealth inequality is the problem. The solution is fucking taxing your ass and redistributing that and giving people healthcare and giving people education and giving people social housing and giving people higher wages and giving people free childcare and giving people paid vacation time. Okay? Wiping out the medical debt, wiping out the student loan debt, giving people a chance, doing what FDR did when he said, I welcome their hatred. I welcome the hatred of the economic royalists on Wall Street. Okay? They hate me and I welcome their fucking hatred. Why? Because they're the fucking problem. Don't give me this like, oh, it wouldn't solve anything. Really? Doesn't solve anything by pointing out the problem and then addressing it? In this country, the bottom 80% of Americans only hold 7% of the wealth. Okay? There was a RAND study that proved that the top 1% stole $80 trillion from the bottom 90% of Americans since 1974. So, in other words, if we just had the same wealth distribution we had in the 1970s, every man, woman, and child in America would have an extra $1,144 per month every month for the rest of their life until they die. That's just if we had the same wealth distribution as 1974. Don't tell me the problem isn't billionaires and wealth inequality. It 100% is. You guys rigged the system. You guys destroyed unions. You guys cut taxes for yourself while raising it on working people. You guys took a tremendous number of government subsidies. That's how Elon got $38 billion to make a whole bunch of rockets blow up in space. Okay? You are the problem. You guys loot the treasury on a regular basis, whereas working people, now their fucking Medicaid's getting cut. They're getting kicked off their health care, 18 million of them. There's over 700 hospitals closing in this country because all the money is being suctioned up by you idiots, by you assholes. And then you think you're fucking God's gift to earth and you're special and everybody should hear your fucking thoughts. No, you're not. You're slurping of fascists from the back. You're a sad, pathetic excuse of a man. And the number one thing we should do is rein your ass in. Get your ass under control the second we take power. All the billionaires need to take a fucking haircut. Need to pay that fucking tax bill. And we take that money and we give people healthcare, we give people education, we give people social housing, we give people a chance at a decent life. No more of this shit. No more of this shit. So, humiliating. He should have never said anything. He should have shut the fuck up. He should have stayed hiding because you just made yourself even more hateable, which I didn't realize was possible. That's the show, y'all. That is the show. You know I love you, as always. You guys know the deal. Everybody subscribe to the channel and click that bell icon. You can also support the show on Patreon, support Crystal Kyle and Friends on Substack, and of course, go sub to Corn's World as well. Come hang out with us on Monday nights. All right, I love you, and I'll talk to you soon. Peace.
Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.